have a question for you. What makes you happy? Is it pleasure or is it peace? Because for a long time, a lot of us may have thought that it was that pleasure. A lot of the ideas that we've been sold are under this kind of utilitarian hedonistic ethic. Utilitarianism was a moral theory that values the greatest good for the greatest number. So that means that basically good is defined as pleasure, what's most pleasurable. So we want to maximize pleasure if we're utilitarians, right? And hedonism is about that pleasure. So a lot of the modern ideas of what we should aspire for go down to this kind of utilitarian ethic. Avoid suffering, avoid pain, and look for pleasure. And look, it's a lot more complicated than just doing what feels good in the moment and just avoiding any kind of suffering, even if it's suffering that's going to help you in the long term, all this kind of stuff. But a lot of us have been misled into valuing the wrong things. A lot of us just want to feel good. We just want to have some kind of experience of pleasure. But the problem is, what we've seen as pleasurable isn't even pleasurable. Because a lot of it comes down to this kind of instant gratification, things that feel good in the moment, like eating that junk food, like having that alcohol or the cigarettes or whatever it might be, like spending your time fapping to pixels on the hub. It might feel good in the short term, but we know that it's not good for us in the long term. And my point isn't that you should never have any kind of indulgence with anything ever, that you can never have some pizza or anything like that again. That's not my point. But my point is that those things never made us happy. I want you to think for yourself, of course. I want you to make up your own mind. But if you ask yourself that question, what makes you happy? Well, then I think you'll find that the happiest moments that you've had are times of peace, times of having experiences where you're with people that you care about and you're not overthinking, you're not having all of these thoughts and all this stimulation. No, instead you're there, you're present, you have memories of that kind of time. It comes from times where you have had genuine joy and genuine admiration for things. That is when you find that happiness. The happiness comes from peace, not from this kind of pleasure. And in fact, that kind of peace is more pleasurable in the long term. And that's what I want to share with you here. Because you see, my name is Paras. I'm here to show you what you're capable of. And if that's something that you want to be part of, there's two things that you can do. The first is to subscribe to this channel, and the second is to check out that top link in the description. More about that later. So peace is in fact what I think we should be aspiring towards. It's better than this kind of short-term pleasure that we've been looking for. So what can you find peace in? Well, you can find peace in many things, but I think the first thing that you can do is get rid of things, or at least significantly reduce things that remove peace from your life. And a big part of this can be this overstimulation, things that fire your brain up so much that you lose track of the present moment. You lose track of the peace you could feel right now. And it's easy to fall into this. It's easy to be scrolling on social media. It's easy to always want to listen to music, all of this kind of stuff. But if you're always listening to something, if you're always visually seeing something, because there's a saying that a picture says 1,000 words. Well, if you're seeing a video, a short form video all the time, right? Like all of the stimulation that we have at the moment, that's like millions of words that you have to process all the time. Your brain's on hyperdrive. It never gets any rest. It never gets any peace. So you see, if you can step back from those things, and sometimes to be able to find the balance, sometimes you do have to get rid of these things completely, at least for a certain period of time. And then you can find that balance again. Because the truth is, when we've been consuming all these things, when we've been frying our minds with dopamine and overstimulation, then we kind of need to reset things back to a healthy baseline. Because our dopamine levels get all fried up. And dopamine, if you're not aware of it, is the chemical that controls our motivation and our pleasure for doing things. And if you keep spiking it with these short-term pleasure experiences, well then your baseline, how much you have most of the time, that goes down. And so you reduce the motivation that you have, you reduce the pleasure that you find from doing things, and you know all of this. You know that if you do the bad habits, then it has bad consequences. It's everything in cause and effect. Everything comes down to cause and effect. If you do the bad things, the negative habits, you spend your time replaying negative memories, you surround yourself with negative people, of course you're going to feel that way. But if you do the opposite, if you spend your time doing the good habits, if you surround yourself with positivity, positive people, manually having positive thoughts in your mind, letting yourself smile, because you can turn that on, you can turn on your happiness. Do you know how? Smile for 10 seconds. And remember a time that your mate made you laugh so much in school that you started crying because of how funny it was. Or at least how funny you thought it was, you goofy little guy. Do that and you can just turn that on. You can turn on that happiness. You just have to put in the right kinds of thoughts. And when you do that, now you can find a lot more peace. You can find a lot more peace because now you have control, you have freedom. And when you have freedom, you have that peace. And building on that point, the second thing when it comes to finding that kind of peace is to do the things that make you feel free. The things that don't require you to be stressed out or to be overthinking everything. And of course this is difficult, especially when we have these kinds of responsibilities and we have certain things that we can't avoid. But as much as possible, give yourself that freedom. Give yourself that playfulness when it comes to life. Give yourself that ability to be free and do what you want, not concerned about what others think, because those who mind don't matter. Those who matter don't mind. And of course they still matter as people, right? But when it comes to your own life and how you live it, those who are really by your side and really care for you, they don't mind if you're living to how you want to live. They don't mind if you're goofy. They don't mind if you're yourself. The people who do mind, well, they don't matter in terms of their opinion on your life. Of course they don't. So let yourself have that freedom in how you live, that authenticity in how you live. As much as possible, the more that you do that, the less you'll be stuck in that overthinking, the more that you'll be able to find that peace. Do what truly makes you happy. That's the third thing. Do what truly makes you happy. Not what you have believed might make you happy in the short term, but those kinds of delayed gratification or those kinds of experiences that you can put into your life that you know for a fact keep you present and happy and peaceful. Those are what we should be looking for. I know for me that if I go out in nature, if I surround myself with the beauty that this world is, because it's very easy to overlook, oh, we're stressed out, we've got to do all of these things, oh, I'm just going for a walk, but I'm not thinking about all of these things that are about. But if you just take some time to look for that beauty and realize it's everywhere, if you realize that the animals and the trees and the nature and everything around you was so unlikely to exist and yet it does, and how beautiful and intricate everything is, you can find some genuine peace and fulfillment in that. That comes on to the fourth point for me, which is something that has worked for me. It may not necessarily work for you, but I believe that is something that is worth considering at least, which is coming back to certain religious values. Because a lot of this kind of short-term hedonism, degeneracy even, because things degenerate, they go downhill when you follow that short-term pleasure. They don't make us happy. But for me, what I found, the closer and the more I go towards those religious values, the happier and the more peaceful that I do feel. Of course, make up your own mind, but I will say, for me, when it came to listening to the Quran, reading the Quran and stuff like that, that actually gave me a lot of peace. And I never understood this before, because when I was a kid, it was something that you just had to do, and I never understood why. It was just kind of forced, but I don't blame anyone for that. But I never understood this idea of people saying, oh, but the Quran gives me peace, religion gives me peace, all of these kinds of things. I was just doing it for the sake of doing it. But now, having grown up, having become older, I realise that there really is peace in these things. There really is peace as long as you're willing to look for it. So you see, put these things together. Value peace over pleasure, because you already know why. And this is how you can do that. And when you do that now, your life can truly become beautiful, an experience that is truly worth living. That top link in the description is my mind and body mastery package. for one more day. It's at a huge discount, and I don't want you to miss out on that because it's an amazing opportunity. It's the best investment that you can make towards yourself. There's only one day left before the price increases. It's still a steal at that new price, but if you're watching this at the time that it's been uploaded, on the day that it's been uploaded, you have this magical opportunity to achieve mastery of your mind and your body in a way that will skyrocket you towards all areas of life that you want to master. And don't wait to miss out. Wait to join the many others who have already taken up this opportunity, who are already loving it. So check out that top link in the description, because I know that it will skyrocket you towards the life that you deserve. And as always, remember, bro, keep improving.